I love this. This opportunity came up at a time when I was like in some pretty significant flux in my life. So, the beyond of the story, the part that I hadn't shared, there was, life comes and goes and ebbs and flows, and there's another chapter that will come at a later time. Um, this was an opportunity that came up when I had just moved my family back from Panama to Canada. We'd been traveling, and I was really looking for what is next? What am I doing? Where am I going from here? I'd had almost a decade of self employment at that point, and I thought, I'm just gonna. It's like this opportunity came serendipitously, and I was like, this is the right thing for me to do right now because I don't know what else is in front of me, and it was a beautiful timing to start this.
Okay, welcome today and our new Be Light to Raise Light podcast. Today, I have the honor of welcoming a woman whose story is both heart-wrenching and deeply inspiring. Michelle Evans is a Canadian business leader, martial artist, adventurer, and a widowed mother of two whose journey through love, loss, and resilience has shaped her into a beacon of strength and authenticity. In her story, A High Calling, Michelle takes us through the raw realities of postpartum struggles, the devastating loss of her husband, the trials of blended family life, and ultimately this rediscovery of her power, her voice, and her joy. This conversation is about motherhood, identity, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. I know her story will touch your heart and remind you of the courage we all carry within us. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thanks, Nishma. I appreciate that. Thanks for having
Be-
me here, guys.
Before we even start all these questions, I think the first question that Saray and I actually have is why Be Light to Raise Light? What made you choose to share your story with us? And how do you feel about being part of this movement?
I love this. This opportunity came up at a time when I was like in some pretty significant flux in my life. So, the beyond of the story, the part that I hadn't shared, there was, life comes and goes and ebbs and flows, and there's another chapter that will come at a later time. This was an opportunity that came up when I had just moved my family back from Panama to Canada. We'd been traveling, and I was really looking for what is next? What am I doing? Where am I going from here? I'd had almost a decade of self employment at that point, and I thought, I'm just gonna. It's like this opportunity came serendipitously, and I was like, this is the right thing for me to do right now because I don't know what else is in front of me, and it was a beautiful timing to start this. Yeah.
The answer of yes. The answer of yes, this is going to be it. I cannot wait. And to have you is a magical step altogether. So thank you for saying yes and thank you for being here.
Appreciate
Yeah.
the opportunity.
Yeah. And I know Nish and I have had the beauty of reading your story.
Yeah.
And I just want to reflect back to you that every single word, when I was reading your story, it just expanded me. It expanded my
Mm.
soul. And I think I just want to reflect back to you that when you're writing from that place of your heart and your soul, and you're sharing your journey of healing, you're healing yourself, but you're also healing the world. And so I just want to thank you for vulnerably sharing your journey. You have so many learnings that each of us can garner from. And so I'd love to just start with the beginning, right? Your story begins with a powerful realization of motherhood, from your own birth circumstances to the moment you became a mother yourself. How has this journey of being both a daughter through adoption and a mother through birth shaped your identity and who you are and the way you parent?
Mm. Yeah, that's a really involved question. Um, I was adopted by more mature parents. They were 40 years old when I was born. The reasons for that are in my chapter. You can read that. Um, but my parents were devoted to parenthood. I think that as I look back on motherhood, I think, oh man, what's the right time to have kids? I don't know. I think it's actually younger than 40. But my parents were unable to have their own children. They had adopted my brother 5 years prior, and they wanted another baby. They immediately began another adoption process, and it took 5 years. But by the time I was born and came into their lives, they were just so devoted to being parents. And I was very fortunate to grow up with such really loving parents that wanted to be parents so much so that they chose it in that way. And I think that sort of fundamentally shaped what I wanted to give to my children and what I felt was right. I mean, we all of our perspectives on everything in life, and this is one of the things that I continue to wrestle with every single day. Our entire perception of what is normal, real, expected, it's all formulated. It's all just based on what was taught to us, based on perceptions, based on societal norms, based on who your circle of influence is. And so none of it is actually solid. But what my parents managed to do is convince me that I could probably do anything that I set my mind to. They made me feel very secure in allowing me space to try things and fail. And I always felt supported. I just always knew that I could, go home to my parents even with kids in tow. So that was like, I never had to, but I always had this freedom to do that. And they just provided a ton of experiences. My dad was a teacher. He was wholly devoted to raising children, not only us, but his students as well. I've still had, even into my late 30s and 40s, I would meet people that had been students of my dad's, and they would tell me just how much of a difference he made in their lives. So somehow my dad managed to convince me that I could be a superhero if I wanted to be. So I feel like that's just kind of the foundation. Ironically, the life that my parents had set for me with a suburban upbringing and a married couple, and my parents were married over 60 years before my dad passed away. And the reality, I wanted to have my kids in one school, in one school district, like their whole lives. And the life that I gave them was anything but that. So I wrestle with that sometimes, but I don't think I would have it any other way. So that foundation from my own parents was really where I guess most of my norms and expectations came from, and even some of the hard stuff came from my parents as well.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Wow. I love hearing about how your parents raised you shaped the foundation, but I also love seeing how you pivot a bit from that, right? And how your life circumstances have led you to a different destination. So, but that foundation, those early year foundations of having that secure attachment, of having parents that believe in you and you feel you're supported and you can do anything, just makes a lot of sense of how you did become that superhero through your story, which I know we'll cover in a bit more detail. So, Nish, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, no, I'm really, first of all, I'm so excited about the fact that a lot of the times that we're looking for mom's situation, like we're looking at how they were grown up and how they were brought up to where they are today. And looking at where that is today, I just love that your story just shows so much love towards your parents and bringing the same upgrading up, everything that you've learned right into what you're doing today to your kids. And I applaud that. So thank you for sharing that, because not everyone will have a very similar story to you. Not everyone will have that same kind of reflection. So that's wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You faced unimaginable loss when your husband passed away. Yet you continue to carry your children forward with love, strength, and resilience, just like I said right now. Can you share with us what carried you through the darkest times and what kept you grounded in motherhood?
Yeah, I mean, I think that first of all, necessity is
Mm.
Necessity was a huge part of it. I think, I was really actually grateful to have a newborn baby. My youngest son, when my husband passed away, was 2 months old, just over 2 months old. And my oldest was almost four. And you can't just curl up in a ball and cry and stay there forever. These little beings are looking for attention. They have no idea what's going on. My oldest was looking for reassurance from me. My youngest was just needy and feeding around the clock and sleeping like an infant. So that was real life. I think that I had a very, very strong church community at that time. And I really felt so supported by everybody who loved me so much. I literally had a hot meal brought to me every day for about 3 months. So it was, everybody made jokes that I couldn't cook, which was true, which is pretty true. Dave was the cook. So they took pity on me, and people came by, and they respected my need for company at times and solitude at other times.
Mhm.
And it was just really beautiful to see all those people come together. I think that more than anything else, this is where motherhood really welled up in me as this purpose, as this, why am I still here? And what am I doing? And how am I going to do this alone? And what do these kids need from me? And it's bigger and fiercer than anything that I had previously planned. I guess in my own childhood parenthood didn't. It's not like I was aware of it being challenging. I was certainly young enough now to not have sorry, I'm old enough now that when I was young, we didn't have the social media that we have today. That
Mhm.
actually drives so much of the way I think and how I want to help people in their own lives, because I really feel like there's a lack of hope and a lack of joy. And I think that what's happening when I see parents expressing just how hard it is and just
Mm.
how hard they find it, my heart breaks for the kids that are watching it. And it's not that I just want to put a band-aid on it. I actually want parents to find their joy in it. I want people to find their joy in raising other humans. I had really what I could only consider to be a vision from God at one point. I know that sounds corny, but I saw I had been remarried at this time, and my now ex-husband has 3 kids, and I had my two, and we were all sitting around the room, and we would talk around the room, and we would pray for one another. And I remember one night very clearly, I had this vision that was like, these kids are not my kids. They are God's kids, and they're on loan to me to raise, and they will one day be my brothers and sisters in humanity and in Christ, and in however you believe it to be. But they're separate beings from me. I don't own them,
Mhm.
and I'm tasked with bringing them through this lifetime for whatever that purpose is. That's on me to do in the best way that I know how, driven by what I know. And so I think it just became this purpose to show them that they can beat the odds that are against them, being 2 young boys growing up without their father.
First of all, I want to say, wow, that's incredible. You being a mom and then losing your husband while having young kids, that is hard. Because again, like you said, you could have crawled into a little space and cry. You didn't even have that moment to do that for yourself. Yet you had to be there for both your kids in such a strong way. And what really put tears in my eyes is that we don't realize the people that are around us. And the fact that you just said you had a community, your church community, you had people that would just come and give you dinner at night or food for the last 3 months of that time. Uh, Such a grateful way of showing up for someone that, needed it. And I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because sometimes we forget that these are the times when we need them the most. These are the times that we need to be there for those that are grieving the most. And then you went on talking about, praying for each other and doing things like that. It's already such a beautiful way of communicating those little things with your kids and showing them that these little things matter in your life and being kind. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think that it's especially when you're going through grief, not everyone knows what to say or do. And so and you had young children and you didn't get a chance to pause and you had to kind of almost, put it in a little box for a little bit and keep going. So that healing journey is expansive, extensive, right? It's for the length of your life. You unpack different layers. So that's what kind of came up to me, is that you had to keep going out of necessity. You had the community that was backing you. And then you had prayer and faith. And I think that one of the things that really stuck out that you shared with me is that you talked about the universe being in charge of your kids, or God being in charge of your kids. And having that lens provides a lot of strength when you're going through a difficult moment, to know that there's a higher force, that you're not alone, that you're supported, and that you've been gifted these kids to raise in the best way you can with the circumstances you have, and that you will be gifted this strength through the universe. And so for all of the listeners out there, if you're thinking about it and you're worrying, I think mothers worry, parents worry, there's different challenges and circumstances that we go through. But when you can lean on that higher force and you can think about it in that way, then it does provide some relief on some level, that you're not doing it alone. Right. So that's what kind of came forward in your journey. And I think that's that faith and that strength and that prayer and that connection is something that I see, that power in you that allowed you to sort of move forward through these difficult circumstances. So thank you for sharing that. And I just honor you for sharing your story. I know it's not easy.
Thanks. Yeah. If I can say, like, I just believe, I'm so grateful to believe that there's a greater purpose for my kids that exists beyond me. So I'm not the be all and end all of their lives. I think as mothers, we sort of think, oh my gosh, I'm like completely 100% responsible for them at all given moments, when I have toddlers that are trying to kill themselves, and I have, my young teens are outside making choices when I'm not there. That's where I'm at now. My kids are 15 and 19 now, and it's like a whole different world. But just knowing that even if I wasn't here, there's still a plan and a purpose for each of their lives. And even if I'm taken out of it, that will still go ahead. And they're going to be okay.
Yeah. And as mothers, we can't be everywhere, but the universe is actually. The universe is everywhere, but we can't be. So I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it. That's beautiful. So yeah, in your story, you speak as well about consciousness, raising these beautiful conscious beings, children who walk the line of worthiness and humility, freedom and responsibility. So can you share a little bit, what does raising conscious children look like in your everyday life?
Yeah, that's a hard one to pinpoint. I think it's just an underlying awareness. I think primarily one of the things that happens in the hardest times in your life is you're stripped away down to the necessities. You realize how much is superfluous, so unnecessary. And the conclusion I came to is that essentially people are everything. There's nothing, somebody's going to get rid of your stuff one day, your stuff, your clothes, your things. And so what I've found is just the focus on the people is the only thing that actually really matters. And together as a family, I think through the journey that I've taken, the one underlying piece that has been foundational to my relationship with my kids is building trust. Knowing that I'm the only person that is wholly devoted to them in the way that I am now, I think that's the biggest grief part for losing a partner and losing a spouse and the other parent, is that you are now you've lost the only other person that loves them the way you do. And so, or that actually cares as deeply for them as you do, and has their best interest at heart. And I say these from a privileged position, to know that that's the foundation that I received, and that was the foundation that my children would, I believe, have had their dad lived. So I know that's not everybody's reality, and so my heart breaks for those for whom that's not a reality. But I think that I needed to build the trust and the closeness with my kids, and so I made it a point to always be honest with them, even in some of the hard times. I fully said to my kids, like, if you ever think that I need to go to therapy, you should just tell me. I mean, there were times that I was horrible to my children when all this happened. I was a grieving mother. I was going through some crazy things. I don't even talk about healing. I don't even know that I've completely healed. I still feel, I don't know that there is a complete and total healing. I think there's a living with it. The choice I made to remarry certainly did not help. There was no space for grieving then. I can't be grieving a previous partner while I'm married to another man. So there's been some of that throughout the rest of my life. But I think as far as really trying to show my kids humanity, show them how they fit with the rest of the world. This is what the consciousness for me is, raising these boys that understand that they are not, they're not alone in the world, that everybody has a part to play. When you think of the billions of human beings that have ever existed on the planet and that exist today, and every single one of them has all the very same components, two eyes and two ears, and all the hands and feet, and the whole, everybody's the same. And yet no two are exactly the same. I mean, barring genetic anomalies and genetic twins and such, but even then there's still differences. So every single one of us is so unique that everybody has their own purpose and their own plan and their own. I think there's something that everybody brings to humanity that if you don't bring it, the rest of humanity is at a loss. And this is the fundamental kind of teaching that I guess I've taken to my children, that I want them to understand that they hold a very important place in the world, but that they are really no different than everyone else, and everyone else holds that same important place in the world. I think through traveling has been one of the key ways that my kids have had an opportunity to see that humans are more similar than they're different. And we've had opportunities to go to a variety of places. They've traveled for sports with me. We've lived abroad, and just they live a charmed life. I admit, again, it's funny because I feel very privileged to have given them the life that I have, and part of that comes down to, they've got all this good over here, but they also suffer the loss of their father, and they grew up without him. And they have gone through mom making other decisions about relationships and other men and bringing people into their lives, and divorce following that. Like, I mean, they've gone through quite a lot of stuff, but through it all, it's been very important for me to show them that people are everything. Even my ex-husband, I don't have, ill will towards, and that they have a very special place in this world to love and serve and give to others. Their gifts are for somebody else. All of our gifts are for somebody else.
Gifts are for somebody else. That is so beautiful. I think you've covered so many pieces around conscious parenting, but like one of the through lines I see from your childhood is your parents gave you the space to be who you are. And now you're allowing your kids to be the space for who they are, and allowing them to shine their own brilliance, their own light in their own uniqueness, while also showing the common humanity and thread across the globe, which is really beautiful, right? That we're not better than anyone else. Every single person is birthed into the world with a unique purpose. And like you said, it's our gift to then give away. It's our gifts and our talents that we're meant to serve something. There's a purpose that we're meant to serve. And so thank you for being that mom, that support system, even when it was so difficult for you in many different ways. And hey, as mothers, we all have moments where we're not at our best, right? We all have moments where we mess up or do things that we wish we could turn back. But at the end of the day, you're showing up you're here, you're doing the inner work. I've seen where you've gone and things that you're doing with your life, and you're doing the best you can. And you did the best you knew how then, and you're doing the best you can every single day with where you're at. And like you said, the healing journey is not linear. It's not a once and done. For grief, there is no timeline. For grief, you still have that love in your heart for your husband, and that will forever be there. And yet life still moves on, but yet you still have that connection. And so I just honor you for holding space for yourself, for recognizing as well, and for sharing with people out there that healing is the journey. It's layers, it's ever evolving, it's a lifetime journey. And it's okay to do it in the way that feels good and right for you at that moment, and unpack it in ways that's good for your nervous system as well. Not all at once, but in ways that you can handle while you're managing everything else. So I just want to honor you and thank you for being so committed to your own personal growth, and also to being there as a pillar of strength for your kids. They're really lucky to have you as their mom. So I hope you know that.
Thank you for that.
Michelle, there's one thing I do know about you is that I love what you said is everyone's unique and everyone will do what makes sense to them. And that is something that's really important for all motherhood to actually know too as well, that everyone's unique, everyone heals in a different way, everyone has a different way of doing things. So that is really important. And that itself for motherhood, when someone reads and understands that, it's like not everyone has the same story, not everyone has the same things that they're walking through. Everyone's different, but yet all the stuff that we have, everything that we do, all the stuff that we bring together, our gifts and stuff, those are for others. And that was said beautifully. So because, the most powerful, beautiful story that you've written already, would you honor us by reading us an excerpt from your story so our listeners can feel the heart of your journey in your own voice?
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. I apologize if there's some noise in the background here, trying to keep that silent for you guys. Yeah, the part that I want to share just briefly is the second journey, the journey out of what I expected to be, what I should have done, following the shoulds, and eventually making my way to my own path. At the time when I realized it was time to move on from my remarriage. It was as if the lights had gone out on any remaining love there. There was no longer any grace for anyone. We weren't aligned on anything. No one was happy. None of this was the example I wanted to set for my sons. I needed to show them that none of us are victims. I needed to show them what a home full of love and grace could look like. I needed to show them that life can be beautiful despite the pain we've faced. I needed to show them that they can handle whatever life throws at them. I needed to show them that they are loved beyond measure. I needed to show them that they matter to me more than anyone else. That I would do anything in my power to ensure their well-being, and that they can trust me to lead them, teach them, and equip them for the road ahead. Maybe I can do this. Maybe I am enough for them. Maybe I can be the mother that God had called me to be. Maybe I'm meant to be here and to show them how to get through all this. Leaving my marriage was the hardest thing I've ever done. I had to admit defeat. I had to acknowledge that we would both be better off apart. I had to recognize that I was struggling to trust my own inner voice for being so wrong about what I had thought was so right. I had to accept that some people were never going to understand my perspective and that it was okay to let them have their opinion. I had to find peace with the loss of many friendships and admit that the financial choices I'd made were reckless and permanent. I had to release it all. Most importantly, I had to remind myself that there is no alternate universe in which life would be better if only things had been different. Nothing was out of place. God had it all right in the palm of his hand, and no mistakes had been made. I was right where I was meant to be. So were my kids.
Wow. Tears, like seriously, tears. It's the way that you read it and the way that your emotions are and the way that you feel it. This itself shows us one thing, and it's to be able to help our kids to be able to walk that path, we also need to be conscious in order to walk that path too as well. And Michelle, you're doing it so beautifully. You're walking it. You are the rhythm and the soul for this entire portion for your kids. And you're a phenomenal mom. I really love what you wrote there because it is true. Sometimes we have to go through it to actually help our kids walk that path so that they could be the better, the amazing beacon of your life.
Thank you for that. Sorry to get emotional.
Oh my God, I was getting emotional. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I could feel my eyes welling up when you were talking about your kids. It's like every mother can relate to that feeling of just wanting to give them everything, the very best. And, that's been your compass, is the love that you have for your kids, to make these decisions, to have the courage to leave the circumstance that you knew was not aligned. And that's not easy, following grief and a second marriage that you had hoped would be different, but you followed your inner voice, and you followed the compass of your kids' well-being, and you chose differently, and you've been able to rise and come out of that. And I think it's important for people to feel the emotion of the messiness and the things that you had to encounter and feel before you made that decision. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for giving courage to other mothers who are in circumstances that, they're weathering for their kids, or they may not have the courage. And so thank you for showing your courage. I think that's really, really strong and beautiful.
If I could, I just want to say, I don't want to come off as somebody who would encourage a mother to leave her marriage. No. That is not the perspective that I want to share. And those who know me well would know that my situation was different from other situations. And everybody's on their own journey, and everybody's in their own circumstances. Absolutely. My second husband and I obviously did not have any children together. It became a very different beast of a family than a nuclear family. And the message that comes from my own mother to me was just that devotion. I was very fortunate to have been raised by parents who were married over 60 years. And I know that every marriage has trouble. My late husband and I struggled as well. And it took us forever to get on the same page to having a second child, because I was such a nightmare after the first. And we didn't, we weren't immune to those struggles. And if I could give any encouragement to any mother out there, is to not make any permanent decisions about your relationship. If you have any children under the age of 2, for sure. But even into the messiness and the journey, there is beauty to be found on the other side of some of those challenges. The one thing I did that I feel opened up my mind after Dave had died was I stopped judging myself for the thoughts that I had. We all think things. I had people say things out loud, and I just want to share this for the sake of any mothers who are struggling with their family life, with motherhood, with the transition, with their marriage, with the partnership, whatever their situation is. I had a woman in her, it was a friend of mine, sort of an acquaintance, more than a friend, but I knew of her story. And when I told her that my husband died, the first thing that came out of her mouth, she looked at me, she says, I wished my husband would die.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't share that to shock anyone. I share that to acknowledge that people have some dark thoughts. And they're not crazy, and they're not I don't want to say they're commonplace, but people have these feelings and these thoughts. And that was just her own guttural response from the challenges that she was facing in her marriage. But this is where this experience allowed me to really not only stop judging myself for the things that I was thinking, but stop judging everybody else for the things they're thinking. Because everybody will go through hard things. And if you haven't gone through hard things yet, I praise God for that. But your time may be coming, right? So grace for all people, grace for these situations, and as best as possible, grace for our partnerships, grace for our children, homes filled with love, grace, mercy, joy, peace.
I love that. I think that's
Yeah.
an important message about
Mhm.
it is difficult. Marriages aren't easy. Like there is a lot of ups and downs, especially after you have kids. There's a lot of complexity that gets introduced or different things that you see in your partner that you may not see. And so trying your best to work together, to work through it, like you said with your partner, you worked through it to get to a place where you became on the same page and that's possible. So thank you for just sharing all sides of it and just helping us see different perspectives. It's really appreciated.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I wanted to ask you actually, it's me again. For mothers listening right now who may feel overwhelmed, broken, or unsure of their path, what message of hope or encouragement would you share?
Oh my goodness, sorry about the noise. Yeah, I think a message that really came from my own mother is just that this, whatever you're experiencing, the good and the bad, this will pass. The earth will continue to spin. The sun will rise. There will be a new day, and things won't always look the same way they do. Um, if you're in a difficult time, hold on because good times are coming. If you're in a good time, embrace it because some hard times may be coming. But that's the joy of life. That's the ebbs and flows that make it beautiful. And it's some of those harder times make us appreciate the good times better. And if you're in the deep thick of it, no, you're not alone. And every mother will face some of these hardships. That your heart is hard, even if it's not as hard as somebody else's. You have to compare yourself. Your grief is your grief. Your challenge is your challenge. And I think as mothers, we can all extend a little bit of that grace and a little bit of that support to one another.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a beautiful way to conclude our podcast today. Nish was going to ask you where we can connect with you, right?
And follow your work. Where can you actually find you?
Yeah, I'm not super active these days, but you can find me online on my Instagram. It's at michelle.kicks. And that's probably the easiest way, or on my Facebook, michelle.evans. That is my personal page. You're welcome to follow it. I'm pretty public with it. So I'm pretty wide open if you heard anything and needed to connect, needed a support. Yeah, just swing by my pages. Maybe you'll find something that encourages you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michelle. You're such a beacon of light. So many moms are going to read your story are just going to love who you are and what you do and how you shine those around you. What you've gone through is honestly a story for those that to read and to say, it's okay. We're all here. We're all here together and we can all make this work together. And this is why the community is the community that we have. Be Light to Raise Light is a community of moms bringing them together to shine who they are so they can elevate their story and share and help others that may have the same situation as you. So thank you for being that person. And thank you for being that mom that is sharing their story so that you could be that beacon of light for other people and other mothers. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the time here. And I love this community and I'm excited about what's being built here. So thanks again.
Thank you. We loved having you and embracing you on your journey. Thank you for sharing all that you did today. And we're just sending you so much love. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you.
We have Michelle's stories, a reminder that even in our most broken moments, we can rise, we can rebuild, and we can create a life filled with love and meaning. Her journey shows us that motherhood truly is a high calling, one that asks us to dig deeper than we all ever thought possible, but also rewards us with connections that last a lifetime. So thank you, Michelle, for your courage, your honesty, and your willingness to share your truth with us today. And to all of you listening, may you walk away knowing that no matter what storms you've weathered, you are stronger than you know, and your story matters more than you think. Thank you.
Everyone.
Be Light to Raise Light is a sacred and extraordinary platform where mothers are invited to shine brilliantly and share their unique stories with the world. Through books, stages, social gatherings, and more, we elevate these voices to the highest vibration, illuminating not only their personal journeys, but the collective consciousness of the world. Our vision is to create a radiant community of mothers who come together to inspire, empower, and light up the world with their truth and wisdom. Be Light to Raise Light is a space where authenticity thrives, stories resonate, and every woman's light is celebrated. Join us in this beautiful mission by becoming part of our community. Follow us on Facebook at Be Light to Raise Light, or on Instagram at Be Light to Raise Light, or connect with us directly by email at inspire@belighttoraiselight.com. Together, let's ignite a movement of light, love, and transformation.